Welcome, age of vintage society. Some people are born naturally exciting and easygoing with a positive on-the-go lifestyle. At least I know of one. His name is Jack Lord. Almost every story I've heard about this famous TV movie personality is as interesting as what fans think of his TV series. From childhood nurture and career to his adult private life, he thrilled movie lovers and endeared everyone to himself with his talent. Sadly, life is not always full of roses because he had his fair share of sadness and regret. How Jack Lord survived stranded on a lifeboat. I want you to know, my viewers, how much I appreciate you. Without Patreon supporters, these videos wouldn't be possible, so I kindly ask you to check out Patreon if you haven't already. Thank you. If you're a lover of the CBS television drama series, you definitely would remember Hawaii Five-0, the compelling, full-of-action production that endeared thousands of homes to their TV sets during its impressive run, though very few know enough about the name Jack Lord. It's not time to open the books, ask questions, or do an online search, because I'm here to guide you through. I know that we all reminisce about the remarkable performances put up by a man identified as Steve McGarrett, the city detective in the famous TV show. I also wondered how he lived his life outside the TV screen until I learned that he goes by the name Jack Lord. No doubt Lord was a fascinating character to watch on the screen as he carried on with his stony detective duty. He had a passionate interest in children, whether as a natural love for kids or because nature denied him of having a handful of them. That would be a subject for another day. Unfortunately for this iconic image, he was so busy serving humanity that he never had the opportunity to show fatherly love to one person who could have made his legacy more encompassing than what it is today, his only son, who left him at a tender age. Some say his son's demise 3 months before he turned 13 left Lord with no successor. That is apparently what it is, but his very significant role on the big screen won him a lot of children. You can call them his fans, who would remember him for generations to come. The larger-than-life character of Steve McGarrett, critics agree, is at the core of the Hawaii Five-0. There is no better way to describe the tough, understanding and sharply dressed persona that he displayed. Very fondly we all saw how he drove his Cadillac car. No one can question his handsome attraction, especially when he is on a floral print shirt. He is often seen throwing a hard right hook, but more unforgettable is that breathtaking catchphrase, "Book 'em, Dano," that he uttered as needed. Off the screen, Lord also had an interesting image. Some said his real life is far more fascinating than the movie version of him. His background and activities that defined his life story looked almost as if he was destined to be who he became, a true Renaissance gentleman. I can say that again. Jack Lord was among the biggest stars of classic TV production. Not until you read about his unique story, you may not understand how electrifying his life was. For 7 good years, sometime from 1991, this brave gentleman, with all his toughness in movies, was incapacitated and under the control of his loyal wife. She would hurl his wheelchair towards the sea breeze while he stared expressionlessly at the crack of dawn and nightfall. When that great TV series ended in 1980, after uninterrupted 12 years on television, Lord was hardly seen in public. Perhaps he stayed a little off the scene, or just stayed low. That was also the year he made his last TV appearance for the fresh CBS run M Station Hawaii, that flopped, a movie he also directed. It seemed everything went south, as we heard that he subsequently sunk into health complications, including a dawdling decline from Alzheimer's disease for years before his eventual demise, though as some stated he may have been afflicted with the illness earlier. What about the Hawaii Five-0 itself? The production is among the biggest hits in the history of television movies. As some implied, it may not have enjoyed the luxury of contemporary TV technological advancement, crime-fighting gadgets, and enhanced videography that would have made things more deluxe and beautiful than they looked. It sure was a great picture for fans. Jack Lord, with his creativity as Steve McGarrett, anchored as the security chief of the imaginary Hawaiian State Police Force, Although he already had his Broadway career going in the 1950s, very few knew about him until this suspense-filled performance. Before he finally left the entertainment scene, Lord tried his luck in other aspects of film-making like producing and directing. He was a sailor, Cadillac salesman, painter, poet, and vocalist, the few career parts that best defined his amazing exploit. With his talent, I have also come to understand that incredible people are indeed a gift to humanity because of their fantastic qualities. There were reports about Lord saying that in 1969 the Hawaii 5-0 was almost halted for some reason, as it luckily survived its first season that aired between 1968 and 1969. Did it escape cancellation because of competition from the nerve-wracking adventure of The Dick Van Dyke Show that was prevalent at the time? It will also interest you to know that Jack Lord is just a stage name for John Joseph Patrick Ryan, an American Broadway actor and television star, born in 1920 in Brooklyn. His Irish-American middle-class parents were as interesting as Lord himself, especially his father, William Lawrence Ryan, who was identified as a steamship company executive. His childhood memories growing up in the Richmond Hill neighbourhood were exciting. Expectedly, he acquired his horse-riding skills from his days on his mother's farm around the Hudson River Valley. A very energetic, young and vibrant Jack Lord found pleasure on the oceans when he did his holidays on the floors of cargo ships, and soon became a seaman, reported to have painted the sceneries he stumbled upon as he navigated through Africa, the Mediterranean and China seas. After graduating from high school in Ozone Park, Queens, he cruised into the United States Merchant Marine Academy, where he left with a graduate ensign. He did not stop there because his quest for knowledge and fame was outstanding, hence got a New York University degree in fine arts. Lord was in action at the beginning of the United States participation in World War II with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and was reported to have done his stint in Persia. On his return to sea merchandise, Lord became a full-time seaman, but at some point his ship was ruined by a German undersea weapon after he exited an African port. He became stranded on a lifeboat in the ocean for about 16 hours. That life-threatening experience made him decide to re-examine his career and life. And so after he was rescued, he took a different name. John Ryan became Jack Lord, before deciding to upgrade his knowledge with the deck officer course at Fort Trumbull. It was while on a seafaring training film that the idea of acting came to his mind. At this time he had an art training program because he was trying to refocus his attention on what he loved so much, his painting talent. "I'd rather paint than eat," he was quoted to have said, but he also wanted fame at all costs, and he knew he could get it easily through the movies. No wonder he told fans that he decided to be an actor so he can make a name for himself. "Then my pictures will have a name value," he had said. So for about 3 years he was learning anything he could from neighbourhood playhouse, worked as a Cadillac salesman, and of course connected himself to Hollywood studio, where he attended classes with Marlon Brando and Paul Newman, before appearing in the Broadway drama The Travelling Lady in 1953. But Lord did not get the kind of exposure he desired, which prompted him to shift to Hollywood, where he began his television career. Lord appeared in several television series like The Untouchables and TV westerns Stony Burke, but his name remained unknown until he was given a lead role in Hawaii 5-0. The drama initially met opposition from the locals, which was mainly for its depiction of state crimes, but that died down when the populace realized how it promoted the beauty of Hawaii as a tourist attraction. It was like magic. Talking about this, Lord had hinted excitedly how a lot of famous persons had suddenly indicated interest to be part of the show. "We're getting phone calls from good actors, good directors, asking if they can be part of an episode or two," he had said, noting that at the time the show was already sold out for that particular season. That was how Lord became the angry boss who apprehended criminals in each of the episodes and habitually instructed James MacArthur, his assistant, with the phrase, "Book 'em Dano." With this, Jack Lord became a television superstar. The 284 episodes show ended with McGarrett, Jack Lord, eventually arresting his all-time enemy and the mastermind of the crime, Wo Fat. To refresh your memory on that, we saw Wo Fat sitting in his prison cell with his shiny eyes. McGarrett turned confidently with a smote voice and said, "Margaret, go get a photographer. We got Wo Fat. We're making history." Jack Lord also had regrets that only he can explain, if only he was still available to provide an answer. Fans shockingly learned that he lost a son from his first marriage. How, you might be asking? Well, those privy to his past said that after marrying Anne Willard, he had a brief romance with her, which produced a son that died as a teenager. It was not clear how that occurred, but one thing is certain: he met and married an attractive young Anne while working on a cruise ship, but was inevitably separated from his fresh love when he embarked on another sea voyage. Months after, Lord got a message from Anne about her pregnancy. Because of his job as a sailor, Anne decided to stay with her parents until she gave birth. Unfortunately, Lord, who was always on the sea, had no opportunity to see his child, as reported, until he secured a leave which allowed him to return home briefly. On that occasion, Lord saw his little boy as an infant. Was there an issue between them, or something very personal that no one knew about? Some writers think that his nature of work may have angered Anne, who decided to divorce her absenteeism sailor husband and nurture her baby alone. Data available showed that while informing Lord of the birth of their son, Anne had hinted to him of her intention for a possible divorce for the same reason. It was reported that the duo divorced in 1947, even as his young wife continued her education. But more painful is the fact that Lord got to learn about his son's death after getting a copy of his burial certificate from Anne, who was remarried to another man at the time. Some years later, a media publication appeared about the said incident as a true story shared by Lord himself in 1964. Just like the mystery surrounding his marriage with Anne Willard, several tales emerged from the death of his son. While some reports thought he died of an extended childhood illness, others wrote that it was a drowning-related incident. Our source hinted that Lord was informed that his son was killed accidentally, but Lord's version was that he only got a death certificate in his mail and nothing else. Regardless, a more believable story was that the young boy, who was raised in Greenwich Riverside in Connecticut, died as a result of hepatitis, as recorded on the 24th of August 1955, an incident that occurred when he was almost 13 years. This was also the period that locals of this vicinity witnessed massive flooding occasioned by the coming together of double hurricanes, leading to several deaths. So the little boy may have been contaminated with hepatitis from polluted rainwater. He was placed under surveillance for 10 days, within which he got admitted to the hospital for 5 days before his demise. Jack Lord's keen interest in kids and having them around was noticeable, with some saying he desired to have his own, but the star soon remarried, but he was not lucky with a child this time. It is indeed an aspect of life that is beyond human comprehension. Only the Creator of humanity can explain. When Lord met his second wife, Marie Denard, he saw in her the woman of his dreams. He did not hesitate to head to the registry and cemented his union with her. The charming dressmaker would forego her career so she could take care of her husband until his death separated them. It may not be out of place to credit some of Lord's success as an actor to Denard's effort, with some saying he may not have achieved much if he had not met her. Many still felt that Denard's inability to have a child made her resigned to fate, and with her already gotten wealth as a fashion designer, she decided to focus on her man. She was also credited for designing McGarrett's costume for the production. Although it seemed the duo decided to focus on Lord's career after their marriage rather than have a child, when the opportunity came, Denard and her beloved husband were not able to pull through because she was said to have experienced a miscarriage. The two were said to have first met when Lord was still a sailor, but on a short break from work, perhaps looking for comfortable accommodation to buy in upper New York State. Denard was smitten by the handsome gentleman who thought she deserved no other place than his home. Lord was also a nice poet. He even entertained the cast and crew during the Hawaii 5 production at any slightest opportunity within the leisure period by reciting poems. Everyone wept when the news came back that Jack Lord died of congestive heart failure at the age of 77, leaving behind an estate valued at $40 million that will later be given out to Hawaiian charities when his wife finally died at the remarkable age of 100 years. That life-threatening experience made Jack Lord re-examine his life. We all do this at some point in our lives. Why was Jane Fonda incapable for emotional intimacy? Watch this video.